Hello and welcome back to the podcast of All This JAWN, recording live from the city of brotherly love in a West Philly neighborhood. I'm your host, Mikey. Join us every week where we will talk about the latest JAWNs of the week. For you Philadelphians out there, you know what I'm talking about. For everyone else listening, it's a noun. All This JAWN is a podcast all about society and pop culture. Every week we will dig deep, we will go there, so don't expect anything else. All in the life of a gay Philadelphian from the mouth of yours truly, Mikey. If you listened last week, we talked about friendships. And on this week's episode of All This JAWN, we talk about relationships. Whether you're single or live that married life, we talk about the exes that got away and the exes that were just meant to stay away. What is your go-to type? And can friendships turn into relationships? So let me take the time out to introduce you to our guest this week. Let's take a stroll west to Pittsburgh and welcome our first guest of the week. Hello and welcome to All This JAWN, Michael. How the hell are you?
Hello, Philadelphia. I'm well.
I'm so excited that you're able to join me on my podcast.
I'm excited too. This is, I think, the third podcast I've been on in the past month. Everyone I think has been in quarantine and just let me start a podcast.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, actually, Michael is the one who actually got me into podcasting. I'd probably say it was 3 weeks ago.
Probably a month, actually.
Probably after all this time I've been asking you 20 million questions on what to do.
Right.
What's the best way? What's the simplest program to use? But yeah, it's probably been over a month now.
Yeah.
So what's going on? How's life in Pittsburgh?
Life in Pittsburgh is, do you want to know pre-COVID or now?
Now. I mean, or why don't we start with pre-COVID? What were you doing prior to Rona showing her ugly face?
I was actually planning trips. I try to get out of Pittsburgh as much as possible. It is an awful city for a young, single Black gay man. So, yeah, I try to get out as much as possible. But generally, I'm just working, going to the gym, spending time with my family.
So, life in Pittsburgh from when you lived in Philly to Pittsburgh, what made you go back to Pittsburgh?
So, just a little backstory. I lived in Philadelphia for 16 years. And around the 15th year, I was feeling a little restless. I knew I wanted to move out of the city. I just didn't know where. I needed a little bit of a reset. And I felt ultimately, I think being around my family was going to be most valuable to me. I had come home for some birthdays or my nephews and seeing my grandmom. And I was I need to be around this for a little bit. So ultimately, that's what led me to move back home to Pittsburgh.
So last week, if you listened, which I'm sure you did, we talked about, me and my friend Andrea talked about me and how many cities that I've lived in over the past, so many years.
Yes.
People in my family call me the traveling gypsy because, as you know, I lived in Chicago, I lived in LA. It's so funny, but I always come back to Philly every single time. It's just my city.
It's home.
It's home where it's definitely home. So, and I always come back with a restart button to restart and refresh.
Yeah.
But it's great. What are some things that you're doing now that COVID is here?
So as you said, I started my own podcast. It's called Unzipped. Anyone wants to tune in, you can find that on Apple and Spotify. I've been running. I started running outside, just trying to stay fit, keep it skinny.
Yeah, that has been working for me, really. I have been inside.
It hasn't really worked for me either, but,
Well, the good thing was I was actually like this year, I was like, this is the year. I had such a rough year last year. This is the year where I am going to get in shape. I'm going to go to the gym. I literally went out and found, the greatest gym by me. I mean, Planet Fitness is, great, but it's not, the gym. But for me, it was something that I needed to do for myself. Was working out probably like 4 to 5 days a week. And then all of a sudden, Corona hit, and I was like, what the fuck?
That's what happened.
She ruined me. Ruined me. Totally ruined me. Totally friggin' ruined me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what, I get it. I understand. I get it. I understand.
But yeah, just, staying in the house, watching lots of TV, lots of movies, so catching up on stuff that I've wanted to watch, reading books that I've had. And I'm like, I'll read this when I travel, but now I have the time to actually sit and read. So I just try to be productive.
I know for me, it's kind of been like I don't know how many times I can redo a room or guest room or bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the age where I'm just like, you know what? There's not notes to do. This is the new normal, and this is what I'm going to do. But yeah, well, that's good. Life in Pittsburgh is great. We all miss you in Philadelphia.
I mean, I wouldn't say great. So fun aside, I was actually planning on moving back to Philadelphia this year. That was money set aside, let the roommate know, was going to let the landlord know. And then Corona hit. And that
was that.
That was that. I'm just like, there's no way that the job market is going to be shit. I mean, that's one of the biggest factors. Like, I could still move for sure, but I'm like, the job market is going to be awful, and it would just not be smart to move this year.
No, especially what's going on now. But we will get to that later. It's definitely tough times. Definitely tough times. So why don't we get into how we met?
Okay, so I don't remember the year.
I think it was
we've known each other.
I feel like it was
more than 10 years.
Definitely more than 10 years. I feel like it was early thousands. Maybe right 2004, 2005. Because I feel like I was working at Puma.
Yes, you were.
So maybe it was 2006?
2006? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Back in my heyday.
2007. Yeah.
Back in the heydays.
And we met, I believe, so apps were not a thing yet.
No, but Adam for Adam and Manhunt were the thing.
Yes. So it's probably Adam for Adam, maybe even BGC. Remember that one?
Stop putting my shit out there.
Look.
Listen.
For those of you who don't know, for those listeners who don't know,
okay,
Mikey is white.
Okay.
And loves the black boys.
Okay, love.
And BGC is Black Gay Chat, for those of you not old enough to know.
I think and I think it was the AOL chat rooms that got me into all that. But
hilarious. Yeah, sure.
Hilarious.
But no, so I think that's how we met.
Yeah.
We met as a hookup.
Yes, we did.
But we became really good friends.
Well, that was great because I feel like our friends kind of got along, which was kind of weird. I think we were weirded out about, I'm like, well, wonder who's going to get along and who's not going to get along was the question.
Yeah.
But they wound up getting along, which is a great thing.
Yeah, everybody, yeah. So we tried just hooking up, became really good friends, and all of our friends met and hung out, and yeah, we just we're really good friends.
Right. And then I think we did Rehoboth trips.
That was my birthday. So the first time we did that, it was my birthday trip.
Yes. It was
I wanted to go to the beach, and yeah, so we would do Rehoboth. We did Halloween. But I think you were living in D.C.
I was living in D.C. and you came down.
And we came down.
Yes. Yeah. And then I think you did another Rehoboth trip.
So we did Rehoboth every year for my birthday. Oh, no. So we did a random trip because that's where Chase, R.I.P.
Yes.
No, but I feel like that was my birthday trip because Sam is there and Abdul was there.
Well, no. That was definitely a time, but I believe you came down again. You came down for Halloween specifically, and then you came down again for Rehoboth because that's when I was dating. That was when I was dating David. Remember?
Yes, that was my second birthday trip. Then, so we did my first year, Halloween, and then the second year, and yeah, you were dating him, And that's when I slapped Chase. Remember that?
Yes. Rest in peace, girl. Rest in peace, girl. Girl, it was a good weekend. Now we had fun. We always had fun.
It was so much fun, but yeah, I had to get a girl in check.
Yeah, real quick. I think she was really shook.
Yes, she was.
But anyway, yes, that is how we met. And yeah, we've been friends for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes.
It's been a long while.
But I've been, like I said, traveling. So, I'm in and out quick.
Yeah. Well, we still stayed in touch, though.
Yeah.
I think the only time we really weren't is...
I feel like I didn't really talk to you when I was in Chicago a lot.
In Chicago, we did not really talk a lot.
Yeah, they were rough couple years in Chicago. But that's for another podcast.
Right.
Hilarious. But yes, no, our friendship definitely remained intact, which is a great thing. And here we are today.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to switch things up a little bit. So usually around this time, we do our main topic of the week. But this week, I think I'm going to switch it up a little bit. And we're going to jump right into the JAWN of the week. And for everyone listening, or this is your first time listening, the JAWN of the week is always Philadelphia related in any shape, way, or form. Person, place, thing, or anything that's possibly going on. So without further ado, the JAWN of the week this week is going to go to the Philadelphians themselves. This city is like no other. Philly has a vibe like no other city. Between the history, the culture, the museums, the arts of the city, and of course, the food. Let me not get started on the food. We're definitely a foodie city. One word that always comes to my mind when I think of Philly is the word passion. And for all the Philadelphians out there, you have it for sure. So with everything going on in the nation right now, and in our city and around the world, with George Floyd, the city came together yesterday at Saturday's protest in Philly at the Art Museum against police brutality and racism in this country. There were over 6,000 people who showed up, and I've never seen so many people in the Parkway in my entire life. I've never seen something so powerful in my life. So before we get started on George Floyd and everything that's going on, Michael, what are some of your thoughts on Philly as a city when you lived here?
I love Philadelphia. I loved Philadelphia the first time I visited. I moved to Philly in 2000 to go to college. I went to University of the Arts. And I knew it was somewhere I wanted to live the moment I stepped foot on the pavement. So I love the energy of the city. I love the neighborhoods.
Speaking of neighborhoods, I totally live in your old neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You told me that.
Literally 4 blocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do. I love Philadelphia. I think it's a great place to live. It's right in between New York and DC. You don't have to pay New York or DC prices.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I love Philly.
Do you have any Philly favorites that your go-to, whether you're visiting or when you were here, like any favorite restaurants, any favorite hotspots?
So one place I always have to go to is Sabrina's.
Which one?
So I lived in South Philly before I moved back to Pittsburgh, so I'd go to the one in the Italian market.
Okay.
And if you're listening, Sabrina's, I will definitely take that endorsement. All I want is free sandwiches. Give me that Mel's chicken cutlet.
They still have it. It's so good.
All I'm saying is I want it for free for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Shout you out.
It's so good. My go-to there is definitely the cheeseburgers or the hamburger. Any way you want it. It's so good.
But so Sabrina's, I love. There's a place called Hawthorne's in South Philly.
It's still there.
Amazing.
It's still there.
Bera on Passyunk is amazing. They have this great octopus salad. Oh my god. There's so many places. I was very much into fitness when I lived in Philly, but I love food. So
it's definitely a foodie city.
Places.
Definitely a foodie city. It's great.
It really is.
For
and
me,
then with the neighborhoods, like you can live somewhere and have like 4 or 5 places literally in walking distance.
Right. And every time a new person comes to Philly, I'm always like, we got to go here. We got to go there. We got to go here. And everyone's like, every time they're like, oh my God, Michael, this is like one of the best places I ate at. Or like, this is so amazing. Like, what part of the city is that at again? And that's why we love Philly so much. So, Michael, I'm sure you've been reading the news and, watching everything unfold. Here in Philly, there's been a lot going on. What is your take on the whole George Floyd going on?
Just like everyone else in the world, I'm tired. Enough is enough. I think this is really it. Like, I'm tired and enough is enough. It was just a very kind of sad thing to watch that video.
The video is, for me, when I watched it, I got chills, but not in a good way. It was like, I don't believe this is happening again. Like, how many times do we have to go through this again?
Right. And in front of so many people. Like, that was something else that, like, he just didn't care. You know what I mean? And luckily, we are living in a time where everybody has a camera phone and they were able to get it, on film, documented, so nobody could lie. They couldn't say, oh, he was doing, resisting and I only applied like, no, it was right there on fucking video and it was just crazy.
No, it's like you said, we're tired. Enough is enough, and like, when is it going to end? And for me, I think, I went to the protest yesterday, and for me, like I said, it was so powerful to see everyone and anyone, out there fighting the fight. And for me, like, I am a white man, and, let's get real for a minute. Like, I grew up in a neighborhood that had privilege. You know what I mean? It's just hard for when I talk to or see other people that are of my ethnicity and who are white, and they are so close-minded at times, where I'm just like, just open your eyes to what is going on just a little wider.
For sure. So I think we live in a time right now where, because of social media, because we are, even before COVID, we were really so distant from each other that people are very selfish. And so nobody really considers anybody else. Nobody cares until what happens to them or somebody they know personally. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, I think that's what it's going to take. From what I'm seeing, though, with the protests, like, so many people get it. It's a select few who continue to be closed-minded and bigoted and not want to see, the truth for what it is. But those people really will have to, something's going to have to happen to them personally or someone they love for them to get it.
No, agreed. And I literally think that's what it comes down to. And for me, being married to a black man and being in a relationship, sometimes you do get looked upon like, well, why are you with him? Or vice versa, like, why are you with a white man? I think for me, like, I was raised in a old school Italian way where even at one time in my life, as funny as it is, I was straight at one time. Like, even when I came out, it was like some family members would be like, are you really gay? And I'm like, yeah, bitch, I like dick. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
So it just got to a point where I'm just like, I think it took it was so easy for me to come out because I literally have 13 gay relatives on my dad's side. Yeah. So it was more easy for me to come out. My mom, basically, when I came out, my mom was like, so are you gay? So I didn't really have to tell her anything.
Yeah.
Because it was obvious. But, I was always raised where it was like, are you sure you want to be with that person? I never really got from my family, well, do you sure you want to be with a black man? That was never a question. I wouldn't say that my family is racist at all. I just think they're a little bit closed-minded when it comes to certain things. Again, open your eyes to how people would feel. For me, I think it was hard for me this week, just, with work related, stress, family, Corona, being locked in, this happening, again, being in a relationship with a black man for so long now. And for Kenan, it was more so, I guess I didn't know how to ask, hey, is there anything that I can do for you? Because, I don't get up as a black man every day. I get up as a white man. And, we actually had that conversation this week, me and him, and he's like, I just need you to just be here for me in general this week. And I think that's what it came down to this week for me, being married to a black man, as far as being in a relationship with Kenan. Because again, like, some of my family members are just completely blind to everything. I'm like, you realize I'm with a black man, right? You realize that Kenan has been with me for 12 years. You love and adore him. You realize the things that you say or post or share on social media, or even like comes back full circle. Like, do you feel like that's not going to hurt him in a certain way? Right. And I think that's, where it, I was very boisterous for the past 2 weeks. Very boisterous. You have to be.
I'm single, so I don't have anyone to kind of look after me in that way, whether they be black, white, Latin, X, or Asian. But my roommate and really good friend is white. And I have had to have conversations with her about, because she says that she doesn't see color. And I'm like, well, no, I need you to see my color, because we could be somewhere and I need you to understand that I'm a black person in this area, in this city, and you need to be able to recognize when people are doing things that are going to hurt me, your friend.
Right.
And if you're not seeing color, you're not going to see that.
Right. And I feel like people just need to, if you don't know, then don't speak. Like, educate yourself.
Yeah. And
I feel like that is where sometimes the divide comes.
Well, I like to just, because I know it can be difficult. I've had all different types of friends. I have all different types of friends. And so I just like to, in a safe space, whether we're in the house or just kind of us sitting outside, I like to broach the conversation and let them know, like, hey, you can ask me questions. Say what's on your mind. Like, this is a safe space. Because we're friends, we need to be able to talk about these things. Or because we're dating, we have to be able to talk about these things. And I think that's the only way conversation can start, is if, you the person who's trying to kind of broach the topic, just put it out there, say, hey, let's talk about this. It's a safe space. Ask questions. I'm open. I'm not going to get upset. But you have to be open as well.
Right. No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
I found it to be successful for me. So.
That's really good. Yeah, no, it's, even at brunch today, I have a lot of friends of different races, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, if you will. Like, I have so many friends of different ethnicities and different backgrounds. And I always think it's great to, like, sit down and, like, get into those deep conversations, like, of race and obviously what's going on right now in this world. And we had a really good conversation today at brunch. It's just like educating yourself, reading about things, asking those tough questions, like you said, and just take it from there, but be open and willing to want to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's disheartening. And, I also feel like, even, at work, I predominantly work with a bunch of black people. And, I'm pretty much the only white person there. So, when this all transpired last week, it was more so I, again, sit back and ask myself, as their boss or as their leader or as their property manager, I'm going to ask them, like, how they feel and are they okay and are they want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
I think, we took a break and I just asked them, like, what are your thoughts? Like, what bothers you? And like, what do you want to talk about? And can we talk about it? And they were open. And I thought it was such a great conversation that we had.
Well, I've been seeing, I have not gone back to work yet. I work in a hotel, so we're still kind of shut down. But just seeing on social media, the different industries and, workplaces, kind of workers are coming out with their stories of either discrimination or people kind of not understanding them as Black people, and employers reaching out and saying, hey, we see you. We want to have conversation, moving forward. Hopefully this is something that can be productive for both sides. So I'm glad that this is bringing that about. So I hope that we do see real conversations happening, even if it's between a small team of people. You know what I mean? Like you, at your job and your 4 or 5 whatever employees, even if those conversations are happening, I think it's important that we start listening to Black voices. Because the problems that we face are actually problems that everybody faces. It's just like amplified for us.
Right.
And so I think it'll be helpful for everybody, but definitely listen to Black people right now. Like listen to Black voices, in your friends group, at your job, if you're in a relationship, like.
What I also tried to do this week is, we are in a pandemic and businesses are closing, like you said. But what I've been trying to do this week is like support Black businesses in your neighborhood. Look online of different places that you can, support. One of my coworkers, Michael, he has his own like sort of like small clothing hat line, and accessories. And I reached out to him today and I was like, I really like that hat that I've been kept looking for. Like, I'm going to literally sign on, show me how it's done. I'm going to order from you. And we swapped and he's going to listen to my podcast. So shout out to Michael Melvin. So yeah. Well, we've been talking for at least 30 minutes and we're not even halfway done. So we are going to take a break. I'm going to take a break and we're going to come back with part 2 of All This JAWN on relationships.